I will say, so I'll be talking about the EU, the European Union's more recent approaches to addressing. We talk all the time about social, environmental, economic, these potentially competing prerogatives. How has the European Union tried to balance them, taking into account everything, all the chaos that's going on out there? So I have prepared this more as a very brief teaching lecture, I would say, so it's not so much research-based, but I'm happy to engage with that afterwards, but I want to make sure that the young colleagues who have full research to show us have the time to do so. So I will go pretty quickly. But the point of departure that I think we need to keep in mind is that the European Union is confronted by the triple planetary crisis. Has everyone heard of the term triple planetary crisis before? Any ideas what the three triple planetary crises are? So one, pretty obviously we have climate change, right? What's another one you think? Biodiversity loss, and also we have pollution. So the idea is basically that humankind's impact on the world is becoming more and more of a challenge and more apparent. And all these crises are related to each other. As we consume more and emit more and more greenhouse gases, that's going to have an impact on health, pollution, of course CO2, but also our local communities, water, biodiversity. So if we want to be able to respond to these three planetary crises, we need to have a comprehensive approach. We need to balance economic, social, and environmental concerns. In the past, things have been pretty separate. We'll have our environmental policy that some people might care about, a lot of people might ignore. We'll have the economic policy, and then we'll have the social policy. But the reality is, in order to respond to the situation that we're in, we need to appreciate them and address them comprehensively. And that's something that the European Union, at least in the past 10 years or so, has tried more and more to do with some levels of success. But why should we care about all this? We talked yesterday, and I think there was a question to one of the ambassadors about what is the impact of climate change in Europe. Well, we actually have some pretty good information that is available on that. The European Environmental Agency, which is an EU agency responsible for monitoring environmental health and providing scientific advice to EU policy sphere, has come up with some pretty alarming reports in its first scientific climate risk assessment that came out of last year. So we know that Europe is the fastest warming continent